Welcome to the Reality After Show covering the Challenge Season 40 Battle of the Eras Episode 4. I am your host, Alex Trias. Dan is currently trying to find the location of the challenge and is in Croatia right now, so he won't be here. But as always, we got our challenge alum, everyone's favorite. Love to hate him, hate to love him. It's Paulie. Paulie, how you doing?
I'm good, baby. Man, we got a juicy episode here. We have a juicy episode.
I mean, it goes past the episode too, man. It's a Twitter, Insta Lives immediately after the episode ends.
Twitter's going crazy. We already got some comments in here. It's a little speculation on what they saw in that elimination. I don't know what we want to dive into first here.
Well, you know what? We could work backwards here. Let's start at the elimination. Let's just go right into it. So let's start. Right, let's just actually start with the decision making. The decision making of mainly Laurel, but Bananas and Laurel putting in Derek and Anissa instead of Jordan and Nia to go against Era 4. Because I'm going to sound like a hypocrite during a lot of this because of what we talked about last week and what we said, like Avery was right to stand on her feet of like, this is my friend, this is whatever. This is a little different. Paulie.
This is a little different. Once again, this shows, Jonny's prowess in the game where, he's had 2 times to, be able to step in and make decisions, but he's doing the hands up, no blood on my hands. It's all Laurel's decision, which we're starting to see already is unraveling against her and playing in his favor. So, this is why the guy makes it deep majority of the time when he goes on. He knows what he's doing in that regard, because clear as day, and I love Jordan, love him to death, but when you have someone like Horacio on the table and you have a chance to, the way it was described by Derek was masterful. If he goes, that whole team crumbles. Jordan is the type of player that can make or break a team.
Right.
With Jordan on a team, they're dangerous. They can win almost everything. He can win almost everything if it goes down to individuals. This was a clear time to take a shot at a power player. Dude, Jordan's dick game must be something else. Nia keeps hyping him up on Twitter, saying he's the man. Laurel refuses to not throw him in this realm when the whole team basically sat there and was like, we want Jordan in. And she was like, nope, I'm making this decision on my own. Derek goes in, Anissa goes in. I like Derek's argument. Era 1 is literally falling apart. I know I backlash the past week of some of my comments about Era 1, but guys, are we watching the same show? Can we let go of our, our old memories of these people and see what reality actually is? And that's the fact that on a flagship, they're struggling. They belong on All Stars only.
Yeah, and you can make arguments for a couple of them that they can still hang. But I agree. And the reason why I want to start here is because let's be real. We all love trivia as a podcasting platform. It's boring to talk about. A lot of people get stuff wrong. They all fall. It's funny. TJ laughs. It's iconic. But the interesting thing is the deals that potentially happen behind closed doors. Why would people feel comfortable losing? Why do people need to win? Obviously, Bananas and Laurel are we need to win or we're being thrown in. Doesn't matter who wins. We're the ones probably getting targeted because they just don't believe Era 1 will win. Right. So when you go into that argument, I think Derek did everything absolutely right. The only argument you do have is what Jordan provides, which is, but are they going to win for you? Because next time you're in power and you don't win, Era 1's not the one that's going to win. We're the ones that are going to win.
Yeah. And I thought that was a brilliant rebuttal. And I even put on Twitter, I was like, Jordan is showing this season, in my opinion, a political prowess that we've never really seen.
Mm-hmm.
Even in his conversation with Nia at the bar, when he was strategically thinking about how she should approach the deliberation, he didn't have to say a word.
Yeah.
And his one sentence was powerful enough and it made sense. And even if I was a team that wanted Jordan in, I would be like, Jordan, you're right.
Mm-hmm.
Your team has a better chance of winning than Era One. I want to be safe. Yeah, let's ride with this. Don't worry, we'll get into the tea, guys. We'll get into
the tea. We will get to the tea. We have to talk about we got time, folks. We got time to talk about the tea. But why I'm going to use the Banana Man's words a little bit against him, though, because if you go based off how he says he maneuvers the game, the thing that I thought was not a red flag, but it's like you don't know Bananas as well as you think you do, unless you already have a deal with him and with Laurel. Is he tells Nia all this information and be like, but don't say it until we are there. And what did Bananas say on the podcast with you? What does he always say on every podcast early on the game? It's not about what you say when your ass is on the line. It's what you say to me when it isn't. And Nia doesn't say anything until her ass is on the line. Granted, she's sort of playing on her back foot this season. She's in a world where everyone has relationships and she has very few. But if you go based off what he says, he should be more inclined to lean into the personal and lean into, I've done 20 fucking seasons with Anissa. Derek's my boy. We've won seasons together. Jordan's a threat. Horacio's beaten him before. He can beat him again. And then, especially when you see what the competition is, no slight to Jordan, but I'm like, I would still feel confident that Horacio would beat him.
Could have been a toss-up. I mean, Jordan's amazing at so many things. That's one of those eliminations where you gotta, also factor in his hand.
Yeah.
This was a picking up jacks and catching a ball elimination. Horacio and Jordan, probably cardio-wise, equal.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? Skill and lack of mistakes come into play there, and all it really takes is for Horacio being able to carry more jacks with two hands and catch a ball than Jordan.
Yeah, absolutely.
That would be like you go into the sand and you see it's, just the sand. Odds are it's going to be a pole wrestle. You have an opportunity to throw Jordan down. As good as Jordan is at wrestling and everything, if it's a pole, he's got a disadvantage. And that's just the facts of the matter.
Agreed.
I think what we can take away from this is Bananas makes the rules as he goes for himself.
Yes.
So whatever fits his decision to throw somebody in is not going to fit his decision the next time around, because it's going to fit whatever he needs it to fit then. And that's just Bananas' game.
Mm-hmm.
Always has been, always will be. He says he plays the game one way, but he plays the game week to week, which is what most good challengers do. They play week to week. They don't even think about the next week.
Yeah, absolutely. So maybe you think a few weeks ahead. Like with Bananas, it's always like you have the template, but that was back when it was the 20s. The themes were more consistent. You win early, you show force, you throw the rookies in, you coast, and then you hope that no one becomes wiser towards the end and you get to go and run a final. That's not really the case in this type of format, where you can, odds are he's going to be picked every other round until he gets thrown into an elimination. And then you cross your fingers that he loses. It's the same thing with Jordan. It's like you hope at a certain point he just gets thrown in. One of the times that he volunteers just goes in. But let's move to the Laurel side. The Laurel side of it all, which is we're starting to see more of what, like Dan and I talked about in the podcast during All Stars 4. More Dan said consistently in the past of Laurel's a great competitor. Let's clear that off the board. This has nothing to do with her as a competitor. But as a game player, we know it's going to be individual at some point. We know it. But this is a team effort right now, and there's no I in team. We get told that when we're 5 years old playing soccer for the first time. There's no I in team. It's a team sport. You need to do something that not just benefits you but benefits the group. And she's just so consistently feels like I have all this power and I'm going to do whatever the fuck I want and you guys can just deal with it. But then when she gets pressed and she gets put into a spot where she's a target, she suddenly is like, I don't know why I'm the target now. Why am I the target and not anyone else?
She knows exactly why she's the target. She can't turn around and, be the victim here. If you're a strong player, if you play the way she plays, you just got to own it. This is like clear as day. Laurel doesn't really have a political prowess. She tries to do politics by force and by intimidation. Yeah. And most seasons, you do have a group of rookies. And most seasons, after that group of rookies is done, you do have that middle of the tier players that are also going to, like the Michelles, for instance. She's like, oh, I need strong girls in here because I'm going to hide behind them, right? There's those types of players. So someone like Laurel benefits those types of players because as long as Laurel's in there, those people are going to get to coast a little bit. Mm-hmm. The problem is that there's no rookies this season. She is not well received by a lot of these people. A lot of these people were onto her game. Just from the conversations that I had when I was in there, people were already mounting up, gearing up, swords drawn, ready to go. And she's not doing herself any favors, and she's almost self-imploding at this point. I mean, like, the way she reacted, right? And the rumors are that her and Jordan made a deal before the thing. So it's like, even her reaction after a win that she knew she was going to get towards Darrell, like, it was just childish. It's like, dude, if you get handed a win that somebody throws to you, just like take the fucking win and just go. Yeah. You know what I mean? She had to make the comments to Darrell. Darrell ate her the fuck up, read her for filth. And the thing is, when you're in a house with all these people who've played the game before, those types of interactions and showing that other people aren't afraid of you lets everybody else in the house know, like, oh, okay, she isn't the biggest, baddest dog on campus. Mm-hmm. So we're going to take our shots when we have a chance to. So I think we're, even the fact that, she's throwing Emily under the bus. She's clearly saying, like, Emily's freaking threat to my game in some of the clips, like in that they teased for the future, seasons, showing that she's willing to potentially throw a challenge now that Emily is the target, which Oliveira too had the ability to do that round. But as a team, they were like, we're not going to be that team that does it. But she's still in the mindset of, I will do it.
Yeah.
And that's not a good team player.
The thing with Laurel is, I feel like there's two seasons that are trapped in her mind when it comes to how she moves around. It's Free Agents and it's War of the Worlds. Free Agents, because you hear her very clearly in her mindset for Jordan outside the deal that they made. She's like, I know this will be individual at some point in the final. We're most likely going to do something where we're intertwined between guys and girls. I want the strongest guys there so that I get to consistently, me being the strongest woman in her head, I get to have the best opportunities every chance I get. Like, no big easies here. Like, I'm going and have the best. My counterpoint with her strategy there is, but you also have Anissa on the other side. And, like, no offense to Anissa, because I'm going to give her flowers at the end here. She showed out. She showed out in that elimination. I think she proved a lot of people wrong with, she'll just gas out after 2 attempts. Like, if this is going to be a no contest thing, she proved otherwise. Yeah. But on paper, you're like, I know how Anissa runs in the final. That's one less person I have to worry about from the girls' side of beating me. I want her here as long as possible. That's the mindset I would have if I came in. So let's isolate the free agent side of it. What do you think there?
No, I agree. I mean, credit to Anissa. She showed a lot of heart. She showed a lot of people that she's very capable. She has the wind to do it. And you know what we've seen recently on Anissa's social media, she's shedding the weight down. So she's going to be a force in the future, 100%. But currently, right then and now, I understand her wanting to keep the men around that are strong, but I would almost want to protect the women that I know I could beat in a final.
Mm-hmm.
And at this point, she can beat Anissa in a final. You know, but once again, here's the thing. Laurel and we always go back to War of the Worlds 2.
Yep.
And War of the Worlds 2, Laurel and Jonny got the edit that they wanted. And like, listen, it's a TV show. There's going to be heroes. There's going to be villains. It is what it is. But her political game was so sloppy then, and so was Johnny's, that it was almost too easy to outsmart them, because it was clear as day what they wanted to do, you know, and it was just a matter of figuring it out before they did, right? And we did. Right. But with that came, they got to pile on all season, even though they both went home early, pile on and like ride off of the coattails of Jordan and Tori kind of being able to last as long as they did, and then Jordan ultimately winning in the end. This season, they wanted the same exact strategy. They were trying to pull all the numbers. She was trying to be the intimidating enforcer, and that just doesn't work. You're not going to do that when you have an Era 1 team, when you have Era 2 people who maybe haven't been there in a long time, who are smart, when you have an Era 3 team who also doesn't care, and you got a bunch of new Era 4 people that are there to prove something. So, you know, Laurel coming in the way she did, you know, I think she would have been better this season coming off of a win, sitting back, coasting, and just being friendly with everybody. But she just doesn't have it within herself to do that.
Yeah, not only does she not have that ability to do that, she pops off because she's in this adrenaline high of winning. But it's like, you're making wild accusations here, and like you going out here going like, oh, I didn't get, you picked me because I don't offer you massages, but Emily, who's like the hippy dippy girl who loves helping people, gave you a massage. Look, we know the difference between an Emily massage and an Emily massage, okay? It wasn't in the bathroom, okay? We get
exactly.
Darrell doesn't have a long beard.
Yeah, she wasn't. Yeah, she wasn't given an Emily special in the bathroom. She was, and like that's the thing is, you know, I understand banter back and forth more than anybody else. I understand trading blows with the best of them. But to trade blows in a lying manner, right? Like this guy's got a wife and kids at home. You're trying to make it seem like he's being a certain way while his wife and kids are at home, and he's not. I'm so glad that they showed the actual massage that he got.
Yeah.
And how it was literally after he threw his back out in the elimination, and he's laying face down in a bed, fully clothed, and she's fully clothed, and she's digging an elbow into him. Because this is exactly the kind of stuff that I'm talking about, where it's like, dude, be pissed at Darrell for throwing you in, but don't take those low blows trying to get a rise, where it's like, dude, it comes across bad.
Era 1 will hate me for saying it like this, so I want to be respectful when I say this. It's not a good look when you're belittling, like, even though they're the oldest, in this case, the youngest child, like the one who's defenseless, they're helpless. Like that Era 1's a mess. Like they're already on the low and top one. Cool, they didn't lose this challenge, but like half their team is like has like injured backs. They can't walk. The only other people you have is Derek, who's eliminating people, and Rachel, who has a confessional in an episode saying that I'm the strongest person in Era 1. We'll get there. But that's all she's getting at the moment, which I have a theory. I'll leave it to the end of this episode. But I'm like, and not only do you like belittle them, Darrell stands on his business, okay? Like, and he's arguing, and I give him all the credit in the world for doing that. She comes back like a toddler. Like have you not grown into shit talking at this point in your life? Like, you do it a lot. You block anyone who tries to challenge you on any social media because you don't know how to actually debate. You don't actually know how to stand on the words that you say. And I just feel like we're really hitting that boiling point for the fandom to truly pick their side now of like, are you going to consistently defend her or are you going to acknowledge what she's doing?
Listen, this is where my issues with the challenge fandom come into play, the hypocrisy of it all, right? Because if, I was up there and I threw a dig like that towards somebody,
you have been torched.
It would be like, you need to, like, how dare you sink that low? Like, you need to hold yourself accountable. But for some reason with Laurel, there's a part of the fandom that almost like justifies her actions. And it's like, it's almost like that friend who knows that their friend is an alcoholic and the alcoholic is trying to not be an alcoholic. And, the friend is like, hey, come on, one drink won't be too bad. It's like, that's how I feel like this part of the challenge fandom handles Laurel, where it's like, no, you're right.
Mm-hmm.
And there needs to be a moment where everybody's like, no, you're wrong. Like, apologize. Like, just own it. Stop doubling down. Like, she would get way further if she just stopped doubling down. And you see it across the board. Like, she can't help herself. Like, the obsession with Cara, the digs at Laurel. She's doubling down on Twitter like nonstop. And, even if she is getting backlash, she's not seeing the grand scheme of backlash that's coming her way. She's focusing on like that small group that's like, no, you're right. And she's doubling down based off of those people. And I think those people are almost like, purposely telling her to double down just because they like to see the train wreck always happening. And I think she would do way further if she just pulled back, said, I'm sorry. That was a low blow at Laurel. I was out of pocket for that. I had no right saying that, knowing he's got a wife and kids at home. And, also be like, you know what? There was no reason to come after Cara. And maybe I am a little bit wrong in that. Like, that would go a long way. And I think she'd get a better response from the fandom if she just was like, you know what, guys, sometimes I just let competition get the best of me. I'm sorry. It's within me to be that way. I'm never going to change competitively, but I can take an introspective look and I can see, how it's coming across. Like, that takes true, like, introspection and like reflection on your actions. I think she does none of that. I think she lives in her little bubble. I think she, like, even the argument, like you said, like, it felt like a 13-year-old girl like, having an argument. And it's like, honey, you're pushing 40. Like, we're adults. We can have intelligent debates and intelligent digs here. Like, you're just having like a schoolgirl, trading of blows,
Yeah,
and
because
Laurel didn't back down.
Yeah, and like, it's also like, it'd be one thing if Darrell was talking shit on her like consistently on the side, and then like she went and's like, okay, now I'm like gonna pop off on you. That I'm all for that. I'm all for that. Stand on your business. But this was business that you didn't need to stand on, and not real. But like, you also take that step back, and like, if she could just have self-awareness, that's the thing that she's not having the most of, and that self-awareness is like, look at his options. He's good with Cara. Era 1's all good with Cara. They're all good with Emily too, because Emily's like, I want to work with Era 1. Like, I don't want to target them. It makes sense for us to target 3 and 4. So cool. The 2 off the board. And I really think a lot of them are like, well, we know Avi from way back in the day. We want to give her a fair shake. What does that leave? It leaves Laurel, who just so also happens to be a big contender. So like, if we can get her out, cool, and we protect our friends. Like, boom, there you go. If you want to be mad about that, be mad about that.
I'm tired of good competitors being surprised when they get targeted.
I'm
over it. You know what I mean? Yeah. Everybody has done it. I mean, like, even Cara's been guilty of this, and like, but we've had so many conversations where now she's no longer that way because I'm like, you're the best. What are you're going to cry about being the best and go back to sucking? That's the only way you're going to, like, like, I've got a little bit of, that on me now. I go home early twice. I could come in and be like, hey guys, maybe I'm not as good as I used to be.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, don't target me. I'm not the threat. And I hope that, she takes this season as a learning lesson, because it's not going to be good for her.
Why do I feel like she won't?
I feel like she won't either. But it is what it is. I mean,
Yeah.
like, I know from my own personal situations in the challenge that, like, when I've been a bit too much to people on the seasons, I've been pulled aside by producers and been like, dude, you got to fucking chill out. Like, you're walking a fine line here.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're walking a fine line, and like, we know that you're trying to, like, get people to react, and we know that you're trying to get certain people to swing and get ejected, but you're doing it in a way where if they swing at you and get ejected, you're also going to get ejected, because, like, you're crossing that line, in that sense. And I feel like she habitually crosses the line
Mm-hmm.
and doesn't get checked. So she's like, it's all right.
Yeah. It is what it is. Briefly, I want to talk about the daily. And mainly the thing that I was like, I don't know. I feel like they were setting up for an injury to happen with how they had it set up. Like, look, we all know the 30 feet above water. It is what it is. You guys do it all the time. But they had y'all set up in a way where it was like intentionally sending you backwards, backflipping, no control really into the water on a 30-foot free fall. Like, I'm surprised based off the edit that the only thing we see is CT's injury.
Yeah, I mean, from what I've gathered from a lot of challengers, there was way more injuries. And it came from, like, how they were falling from the height that they were. I think that there's a fine line between good TV and actual safety.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very simple from, like, certain heights to just have people drop in the water. You're going to get the reaction, right?
Yeah.
Once you start getting above that 30-foot mark, or even at the 30-foot mark, like, you're pushing the envelope of, like, impact on the water being dangerous, especially people doing somersaults, whiplash of their head hitting the water. You're in life vests, right? So, like, impact there, you're looking at ribs and all that stuff, so if you're going to do, like, flipping into water, maybe bring it down to 20 feet. And then, if you want to do the 30 feet, the 40 feet, make sure people are just kind of penciling in. Like, the floor comes out from underneath them, they go. You tell us beforehand how we should prep before the floor comes out from underneath us to make sure we fall straight down. Simple.
Yeah.
Me personally, like, I know trivia is like a staple on the show, but, like, I always go back to War of the Worlds 1, right? War of the Worlds 1 took out eating challenges in the whole season. And I'm pretty sure we didn't have trivia that season.
I was trying to, like, think through that, like, heading into tonight's episode. I was like, oh, I'm going to ask Paulie about trivia. I'm like, I actually don't, like, because I'm going through War of the Worlds, I'm like, I don't think there was.
There wasn't. War of the Worlds 1, like, it was just straightforward, like, bangers after bangers after bangers, every single daily, every single elimination was, entertaining. I don't know why we got so far off track from, like, that. And part of me is like, is it because we have older people there? We want to give them chances of winning with eating or with trivia, where, era 1 or era 2 probably should have won because they had the knowledge of, like, being there for a lot of the history things. This is one of the first times that they weren't just throwing out, like, random geography. So it's just one of those things where it's like, I understand trivia, I prefer the trivia that's like a kill your neighbor trivia, where if you do get the question right, you get to pick somebody, another team. That makes it a little bit more spicy. But I think the way that the show is going is like, hey, save trivia for, a piece of, something else. Like, don't make it a standalone thing. Like, I know we got the TJ laughing. I know all that. And I know we love the reactions of how stupid we look sometimes, but it's like, come on.
Yeah. And then only other things outside the elimination is obviously from last week's, we see the forgiveness that Josh always has. But the only reason why I'm bringing this up is because we've been getting a lot of comments on here. We've been getting a lot of comments after the episode, after we finish filming and this goes on to YouTube. What's the Vacation Alliance? Why are you just always throwing the word Vacation Alliance? I'm like, look, let me teach you a lesson. Episode 4, the challenge 4. You're listening to it right now. Go and rewatch it if you missed it. Josh lists them out. There's a core of the Vacation Alliance, and it's himself. It is Tori. It is Devin. It is Anissa. It's like there's a fifth person in there that I should know, but I just don't have it in front of me.
Casey. Jordan's
and
in it.
Jordan's an extension because it's
but
like
that's the thing is like Jordan essentially got saved. Like, yes, his relationship with Laurel probably helped, but he's part of that core Vacation Alliance with them, right?
Yeah.
Josh made amends with Tori because he's like, I don't really got anybody else. You know what I mean? Like, that is the Vacation Alliance in a nutshell, right there. And, to speak on Josh, it's like, I don't think he should have made amends with Tori. He had other people that he could have played that game with. But this goes back to the Vacation Alliance thing. They've done so many seasons together. Why are they going to stray from something that's already working so well? And then obviously, there's the whole Josh moment of him saying, I'm going to nominate myself as the target. And then he doesn't. And I think Era 4 is realizing very quickly that your boy should have been there. I didn't do myself any favors with, the nomination, but, I'm good at trivia. If I say I'm going to nominate myself, I'm going to nominate myself. It's all about team dynamic. And I hope that Era 4 can turn it around because, these first 2 challenges, they've struggled a lot.
Right. It's like, not to like toot your horn, but it's like they're lacking like a vocal leader. Like, they have a bunch of people who like to play behind the scenes, like, do the social game that's quieter. Whereas, like, especially when it comes to the competition, like, you need someone who's just going to be like out in the forefront, like, look, let's gather each other. What's your strengths? What your weaknesses? Let's go. And this is how we're going to attack. Obviously, trivia, throw that to the side. You can only do so much there. Like, Kylan can only have so much of an encyclopedia in his head for this. But it's like, you don't have vocal leaders.
I have one more trivia challenges than you, buddy.
Yeah. Shots fired. But it's interesting.
It just goes to show everything, right? This is also my problem with Era 4. And new people in general. They're confessional gangsters. Where it's like, dude, you were right there. You're looking at Josh. I know you wanted to say something, but you didn't. You just said it in your confessional.
Right.
Say what you just. Say it when you get back to the house. Be like, bro, what the fuck?
Yeah, it's like it's same thing, sort of like, not to throw his way because I've been nice to him recently. It's Devin. It's like he's complaining about Corey not volunteering because I guess apparently he was the next person to volunteer, and you're staying quiet there. You're letting other decisions happen when your voice can matter. Your voice has weight, and all these people just go, I'll wait. I'll be mad in confessional. I'll be nice to your face. So,
and that's the thing is like that. I mean, and that's not me. So I don't respect that at all because like if I'm sitting there and somebody's saying, yeah, I'm going to nominate myself, and all of a sudden they're not saying a word, I'm going to be like, hey, bro, are you going to say a word? Or I would sit there and be, hey, Jenny, we already talked about this. Josh already said he's going to nominate himself. And same thing with Devin. Hey, we already talked about this. Corey's next in rotation. Say something.
Or if I'm Jenny, I'm like, but we just had this whole conversation. My whole point was to have someone who wanted to have the role because I'm going to have to pick one of you. You volunteered behind closed doors. I don't care that you're not raising your hand now. I'm picking you. Like, but maybe the matter of fact is we saw in episode 1, Josh's pitch was towards her and towards Theo that if you stayed and not him, that they would just be the ones constantly throwing it. He's the person who's there for her.
Yeah, but also his pitch was like, when it comes time, he's going to take shots. I don't think so. I think that Era 4 made a big mistake going into that first elimination. And I was aware of all the conversations that were going on. And it's like the second that Michelle was giving me the BS of like, well, Theo is, saying your name, kind of leaning towards giving him what he wants. I already knew that she wasn't thinking about the game. So I was like, all right, fuck you. Theo, fuck you. Let's do this. You know what I mean? Because, and I promise you, if it was any other elimination, I'm winning, I'm coming back in, I'm flipping the whole house on its head. If I did come back from that elimination, the whole house is getting flipped on its head. I'm basically going to Era 4 being like, this is my team now. Everybody else sit the fuck down, shut the fuck up. You don't know what the fuck you're doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and that's it. Like this next challenge with Laurel and Jonny as the targets, I would have made it known. I would have been like, hey, everybody, fuck her. Right?
Right.
Like, let's go back to focusing on team shit after fuck her. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But and it's like, oh, you have a full team of strong Era 2. And look, Laurel's just happens to be right there. Let's take it. Let's take it right now. It's the same thing with Jordan. It's like, hey, Jordan's amazing. Again, let me emphasize this to you at the table, everybody. Jordan's amazing. How about we do something about that? How about we put him in elimination? And you know what? The next time he volunteers, let's put him in elimination again. It's like, let's just keep doing it. You can't, like, I feel like there's a certain part, I get it. You want longevity. You want to be able to get to the final, whatever your goals are. You can't, I feel like so many players run based off of fear. Like Josh deciding he no longer want to do it once he sees CT volunteer because he's like, well, when CT volunteers, he thinks it's a sure thing because he wouldn't do it unless it wasn't. So I'm not going to volunteer anymore. I'm like, how are you afraid? I get it. It's CT. The lore is CT. CT healthy, even out of shape, would still be a threat. The dude literally threw out his back into that water.
Yeah. And he said he shit himself.
Yeah. He can only sit on one cheek. It's like, how scary is that?
Yeah, now's the time to do it. And this is my frustration with people ever since, like when I did take that break is they don't utilize the twists to their benefit, right? Mm-hmm. Like looking at this, anytime that I would have been the target, I would have immediately known, been like, we need to win. Otherwise, I'm going in. And then if we win, I'm like, all right, cool. And then I worry about until the next time that I'm there. But best believe that anytime there were strong people as the targets on other teams, I'd be sitting there being like, now's the time to go after them.
Mm-hmm.
And you take that shot every time. So, like, anytime Laurel's a target, if they don't win, she's going in. Anytime Jordan's a target, they don't win, he's going in. Why? They both can win eliminations, and it's just a numbers game at that point. It's a numbers game. Can you win 4? Can you win 5? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's I want to see it.
Hard thing to do. It's a hard thing to do. The eliminations could be anything. You don't know what they're going to be. This is a prime example of, especially you don't have to make the decisions until you're there. So, like, there's some seasons where you got to make the decisions before you go to elimination, and you're like, shit, man, I fucking – got this, right? But when you get to show up and see that, you can literally turn to your person and be like, we could chance it with Jordan. We could chance it here with Laurel. You know what I mean? And that's what I think a lot of people are lacking. And, I have a sense that we're going back into the Kumbaya gameplay.
Mm-hmm. I'm still trying to be a little optimistic there that there'll still be a Kumbaya, but there are also we are seeing the signs of people that are like, I can take a shot. I can take a shot. Just need to win. That's the biggest thing. It's like we need these people that aren't with that contingency to be able to win that power and be like, look, fuck it. Y'all are going in the sand. You would do the same if you were in my shoes.
Yeah, but once again, there's a little bit of strategy to that, right? Like, we need those people in positions of power to win. I would be thinking, well, if my team is controlled by XYZ people and I want to have decision-making abilities on my team, when XYZ people are the fucking targets, maybe I don't try as hard that daily.
Right.
And I'm not going to say I'm going to throw it, but maybe I don't try as hard. Because if I get rid of those people, then maybe I'm in the position next time. But also for the other team's sake, I'm taking shots at them because then that's going to give my team the ability to have that decision-making factor. So, like, if Jordan's gone from era 3, their percent of winning goes down drastically.
Right.
Which means that they're no longer a threat to me. And anytime I want somebody from that team, I get them.
And not just that, it's like the reason why the Kumbaya won't, I just truly feel it won't ultimately work. Like, it won't work for a majority of them. It'll work for some, but not all, because this game is incentivizing you to take a risk to get power. It's being okay with being in elimination in the event that you win so that you gotta put your friends in positions of power so that they can have control in a future round and do what you said. It's like, I could give 2 people from Era 2 some power, try a little less on the next challenge or the next daily, and suddenly I have 2 guys right there that are willing to take a shot for me, either against my own team or someone else. Or you can put that literal target on someone's head and be like, look, there's people on the vacation lines on every single team. All of you are now in position of power, and I'll take that risk. I'm not the one getting hit.
Yeah, and it just it was glaring to me in this episode because let's face it, team challenges, unless it's just 2 teams where one starts to run away with it, like on War of the Worlds 2, like we won everything. It was all about figuring out the numbers on your team to always make sure that your people were the decision makers in order to make the decisions that you wanted. In this season, there's 4 teams, and the teams dwindle every single time. So there really is only going to be like maybe one team that catches a rhythm. Right. And by that time, it's already the halfway point, and it's most likely going into individual. Right.
Yeah.
So in my mind, there's no such thing as guaranteeing, hey, we have a better chance of winning over this team. I look at it as, if I'm Era 2 in the positions of power, well, the man-to-man matchup, strong man is going home with Jordan Horacio. Nia versus Jenny, strong woman matchup, somebody's going home. Both of those teams are weaker. Now, maybe Era 1 is able to pull out a win. But if Era 1 is not able to pull out a win, I have just made my team, Era 2, who's already strong, significantly stronger going into the next challenge.
Right. And you still have your connections on those teams that may be mad at you for not doing it. But it's like, if you're Era 2 specifically, it's just like, if you don't put in Era 1, Era 1's going to ride for you for as long as they think it's necessary. And if you're Era 2, you think that's going to be a while because they look at them. So, and they have been making it very apparent that they are solely looking at Eras 3 and Era 4. And honestly, there is a bit of me, if I'm on Era 3 or Era 4, where I'm like, do I really want them to get the satisfaction of getting that hit? So if I do get power, I might still throw an Era 1 team in. It's like, instead of Era 2. Like, you have escapability.
The thing is, this is Battle of the Eras. The one thing that I was saying to my team nonstop was, we got to prove something this season. Everybody thinks this era is trash, ruin the challenge. we have to take big swings. We have to win. We have to put our team in the best position to win in dominant fashion. And then if it goes to individual, have players from era 4 have the best chances of winning. And I think what we're once again seeing is each era isn't really looking to represent their era on a season like Battle of the Eras, where every era there should be sitting there being like, we want to prove why we're the best era.
Right.
Like protecting Jordan, if that guy makes it to a final, he's winning. So now era 3 gets the bragging rights. That's how I would look at it in that decision-making thing, being like, listen, the only person capable of winning a final on the men's side on era 3 is Jordan. Remove him, I don't got to worry about era 3 bragging rights of we're the most dominant male era, right? And I'd be looking at the same thing from the female side. Which girls am I going to take out to make sure that that era can't claim that they're the best era?
It's simple as that. And it's just like, because that's how it should be. Like in the challenge, it shouldn't just be the fact that like, oh, we have this pre-designed alliance every single season, and we're just going to keep rolling it back. We're just going to keep rolling it back. This is a legacy fantasy football team. We're just going to re-bring the soul of people. Like there's a moment in time where you have to just be like, look, I'm your friend, but you're going to beat me if I'm in that final with you. I've seen Derek. You know the last 2 finals he did? He got 3rd place, or no, he got 2nd place in 30-30, and he was the first person sent out and purged out of All-Stars, and then hasn't seen it again. Anissa, look, love her. She tore a muscle trying to run through the woods at the beginning of a final. It's like, look at this, Jordan. Like, how we're good, but you're gonna look so much better in that sand.
It's one of those things where, you know, my frustration with how the challenge is being played now, you know, I would like to think that when I came into the challenge, I shook things up a little bit. It caused a lot of controversy, but I've really changed the way the game had been played for a long time, which was rookies go in, then the people who aren't friends go in, and then the friends battle it out in the final. I look at things from a perspective where I may be friends with people on this show, but am I going to be friends with them 10 years from now? If the answer is no, then I owe them no loyalty right now.
Right.
Because this is about me. And I may not be friends with some of these people in 5 years from now. And I'm saying that because that is just human nature. That is the human dynamic of things. There's some friend groups who stay friends from high school all the way to the end of their life. And then there's other friend groups where they don't. There's people that you meet along the way in life that you become best friends with, and sometimes they exit your life. There's some people that you meet and they stay with your life. But you don't really know that until you're, you know, really put to the test. And this is a game. So anybody that like won't be friends with you because of game decision, they are not good friends. Like if somebody came to me and said, you're not my friend because you made a decision in a game to make yourself money, I'd be like, well, fuck you, dude. Why does the money going to you mean more than going to me? Like, you're a fucking shitty friend. Like, fuck you.
Yeah, like I have that mindset of like in a game, like, look, would it pay me to put in a friend? Sure. Does that mean I won't do it? No, I'll do it because it's a game. And look, everyone should be in there because you are hungry to win, no matter what cost. Like, look, we can knock on Horacio for not being in the right headspace for this season. Dude still gave it his all every single time he was down in the sand. That's all you can ask of him. He went in and he competed because he was like, end of the day, I'm here to win. That's what I want.
I'm pretty sure he won.
You know, let's talk about
it. Just from looking at it, there is no way that if an elimination is that close, you're walking up to the board with your final peg. Dude, he was walking, looking back like, I'm good. And put the peg in the wall, so nonchalant. Like, if it was that close, he'd be like, catch the ball, sprint, in, done.
Right.
Like, in my mind, there's no way he lost. And I love Derek. He's an animal. He's a beast.
Absolutely.
There's no way. I have ran with this kid. I have ran with Horacio. Okay. He's up there with Jordan. Okay. He may be boring TV. I get it. You know, he definitely didn't want to be there, especially after Nerys was gone. But it's very hard for me to believe that machine lost an endurance elimination where at the end he was casually walking to this. I know Horacio.
Mm-hmm.
That guy will fight tooth and nail. And if it's close, motherfucker's launching his body at the wall to try and put the peg in there. He was so nonchalant walking there. That is not somebody who thinks he's losing.
Mm-hmm. I will say, before we got on here, I did happen to cross through and saw Kylan was live on Instagram, and he was talking about the elimination. One, he was saying with that part, he was like, dude was not walking over there. That for all the people that are there, they're like, that wasn't how it ended. He also mentioned there was a little bit of and look, you can only control so much, some challenge malfunctions during the beginning, where Horacio's ball got jammed in the chute, and people were trying to pull their air horns. They weren't going. So Derek, being the vet that he is, was like, I'm going to keep going until someone tells me to stop. There were some questions about restarts or no restarts. End of the day, he said the guy's thing went 2 minutes. That it was 2-3 minutes tops for how they were going. And it just, in my heart of hearts, I know Derek's an animal. Horacio's an active athlete, basically a current active athlete, soccer player. You play soccer. I played soccer growing up. We're endurance junkies when it comes to a soccer field. This is your bread and butter type of comp. I just can't. There's no way that I can think that it is. Plus, there's the screen grabs of a missing peg for Derek. There's just, it leaves a lot of questions. I don't know if you've heard of anything from while we were waiting to start the pod.
I've heard from some sources. Anybody that I've talked to who was there that elimination night, Horacio was the winner. Now, once again, I wasn't there. I can't speak on it. You know, listen, I've had my fair share of questionable things. Okay. My elimination against Cam and Kaylee, my bands were significantly shorter, significantly thicker, and significantly more.
Right.
I do band workouts. I could barely make it to the cage, and then as soon as I would hand the piece off, it would fling me back. And Cam was standing at the cage with slack in her band, able to basically stand there and coach Kaylee on the puzzle, which is what I wanted to do with Natalie. I was told it was an equalizer because it was a girl-girl team against a girl-guy team. Now, fast forward to the elimination, Natalie and I, with the hammers, I was not allowed to grab Natalie's hammer and yank it through the wall for her. Okay. Then fast forward a little more, and Kyle and Brad, a male-male team against me and Natalie, spinning. First question I asked at the elimination was, all right, so what's the equalizer? Is his harder to roll because Natalie weighs 95 pounds and Brad weighs 200? And they were like, no, there's no equalizers. And I was like, no equalizers. I was like, you said there were equalizers in mine. And, sometimes that happens. And, you just gotta roll with it.
It's just, it's a shame though. When you hear more about Like, especially with this season, it's been so fascinating seeing. We watched the episode within 30 minutes of the episode ending. We hear what really happened from like everyone. It's happening too consistently for it to be like,
We
this is
haven't
just
even
the
gotten to
cast
Jordan's
saying
live.
shit.
I mean, Jordan's been going live after every episode talking about the indiscrepancies. But this was immediate. Like Nerys was all over Twitter saying exactly what went down. Because listen, I'm on production's good side. I'm not trying to get on the bad side now. But I can talk about what other people are saying. And what other people are saying very vocally and loudly out there is that it? Is that's it? Like to me, I talk about this all the time. There's no honor in winning something that you didn't win. And this is my qualms with a lot of challengers is that when they win things that maybe they didn't win, or like Jordan made a deal with Laurel, handed her the trivia thing. She acted like she won that and like started chirping at Laurel. And it's like, sweetheart, he handed you that. Like, why you like just take the fucking win and move on.
Right.
In this case, if I'm Derek, and now once again, I don't have a kid on the way at home. I don't have a son already. So there's a lot of factors that go into it, but maybe I'm not accepting that win. Maybe I'm sitting there and, when I'm told I'm the winner, I'm like, hey, with all due respect, I'm not. But that's just me.
There's a big part of me that, like, as soon as there's something that's, like, very noticeable, that, like, because it's one thing if I'm just doing it all and you learn after the fact that there was an issue. But it's like, if I'm aware that there was an issue in real time, I'm almost stopping and being like, look, let's re-rack. I'm good. Like, it's sort of, I'm in agreement with you. It's like, I'd rather lose knowing it was straight up than win under false pretenses.
Not to quote Happy Gilmore, right? But, where it's like, you got to play the ball as it lies. I had to hit the ball for Frankenstein's big fat foot, right? I had to run into 265-pound Theo. I had to play the elimination as it freaking, happened.
Right.
It didn't matter that, got a concussion immediately. That was just what happened. Like maybe if I don't get that concussion, maybe I have my wits about me a little bit more so in the second round and I'm able to do something different. But, for anybody who hasn't had a concussion, I mean, when you get a concussion, like you're gone, you're spaced. Your brain isn't thinking. The lights are bright. You can barely see. You're dizzy as all hell. You're disoriented, but just had to do it as is. Right.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to bow out in that way. In this capacity, like, if Horacio's ball got jammed one time, I know the smart thing to do is to, keep going until you hear a whistle, right? But I think about like what Jordan would do.
Oh, he would stop.
And we've seen Jordan stop in eliminations and then be like, no, give him the point.
Yeah, we just saw that last season.
Didn't happen here.
And, I would like to say we will know more, but we can only know what we know. But it's a shame that Horacio doesn't win, because, especially for Era 4, because if Horacio wins, all else stays the same. Like, you get to Era 4 and it's time to pick captains. There's no way he's picking Kylan. He's going to be like, look, we all agreed in a room. Josh, you're going to be the man of your word. It's going to be you. Like, end of story. Because also Horacio is like, well, I don't have Nerys, but I still have Kylan. I'm going to protect Kylan at all costs. It's like, there's little things like this, that issues like these and controversies like these have ripple effects. And if we see certain people go home in the near future, it can all lead back to, well, what happened at this elimination. And that's where you should just fix your shit. It's simple as that.
Yeah. I mean, one of these days.
One of these days. But we covered a lot this episode, and I would say it'd be very exciting to see all of you that came in and watched live with us and next week. But, the VMAs are happening. But don't worry. We may not be live on the podcast next week, but we will be live at Protagonist Beer in North Carolina on September 11th. Tickets at challengetix.com. That's challengetix.com. We got Paulie. We got Cara Maria. We got Jonny Fairplay. We got karaoke. DJ Festivus will be there. It's going to be a hell of a time. I think you guys are going to be showing some good challenge clips, highlights from the past, from the current
and we're going to be
season.
singing some karaoke, baby.
Yeah. It's going to be a great time. So you don't have anything to do. You're not watching the challenge next week. Go to North Carolina, go to Protagonist Beer, go to challengetix.com. That's challengetix.com. Get a ticket. Go have a fun time. Meet some great challenge legends and one of the notorious reality TV characters of history in Jonny Fairplay.
Mr. Jonny Fairplay, baby.
But that wraps it up for us. Remember, if you're watching the YouTube video, to click that like button, press that bell for notifications, and hit subscribe so you know whenever we drop new shit. Go, if you're listening on the audio feeds on podcasts, give us 5 stars, give us comments. Tell us what you guys thought about the elimination. Tell us what you think will happen in the future, because we saw the next time on the challenge, the thing we all know is going to finally happen, and you won't want to miss that podcast.
You won't want to miss that podcast. Dude, the chat was live tonight. I think maybe we should start addressing the chat in these things. I think especially for the next episode, because popcorn's going to be ready, and we're gonna have a lot to talk about.
You know what? You're right. Next podcast for that episode, be live in that chat. We will answer a lot of your questions that you guys give us, because we are nothing without all of you listeners. Thank you so much for joining all of us tonight. That's Paulie. I'm out. We'll be back in 2 weeks. Bye, everybody.
Later.